So we had this keynote where we discussed that how data is building a strong base for emerging technologies like digital twin. And obviously there are a lot that can be achieved with the count of voluminous data that has been collected with us as an organization. And with that note, I would start that, how has the growing prevalence of big data and analytics reshaped or is reshaping the business strategies? And for this question, I would start with Dheeraj.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. So thank you first of all for having me here. It's an honor. Coming to the data strategy, I feel it varies a lot with the size of the organization, right? And a startup like Finakin, we started out by taking decisions basis our intuition or maybe some historical trends or some sort of external information, right? Now, as we grew, we kind of started collecting data. We started, collating information, gathering information in a single place, which started giving us, a better kind of understanding of how our customers are behaving with our services, right? And it also kind of, converted into a better ROI for us because we were able to identify where we need to kind of improve our operations, where we need to kind of, what are the opportunities that we can create out of the insights that we are getting from the data, right? So the data analytics, the big data and the analytics kind of became sort of a strategy pillar for us, right? Where it was kind of driving the decision making for us. But it's with a pinch of salt. We should not be overly dependent on the analytics part. There's still the human intuition, as we were also discussing just this part outside, right? So we have been while leveraging data, while it's powerful for taking decisions, informed decisions, right? It helps in kind of improving the operational efficiency. We still kind of take and take some hint of some external information that we want to kind of take before taking a decision.
Okay. And Sanket, if I may ask, how are the business strategies evolving or transforming using these two for TripHobo?
As TripHobo is a travel, we recommend a itinerary to the user. So we already using millions of data for recommendation engine. But where the big data is helping us to generate the proper profile of a user based on our own historical data plus near real-time social data we can utilize to identify the profile of a user. Is an adventure type of guy or romantic type of guy, and then we can suggest accordingly the experiences, attractions to the user. And as Dheeraj said, there is a lot of analytics which goes into the e-commerce side of the business, like Airtel availability, tools experience availability, which help us to quickly address if there's any, since the pandemic there is a lot of changes which help us in this. So this data is helping us into the grow the business. Plus we are trying to generate a lot of content using these technologies. As a travel, we need a lot of content from geographical data and all. So we using this for generating content also.
Okay. And with all these things happening, we are also observing that the introduction of artificial intelligence and machine learning, AI and ML, it's changing the landscape of data as well. And if on that context, Rahul, if I may ask you that, how do you think these two technologies, AI and ML, are influencing the overall landscape of data?
First of all, thank you and good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Definitely, AI ML performs. It's drastically impacted on every vertical, all the various industries. In fact, all the industries. And you talk about automation. There is lots of things are coming in automation as well. It's a very simple task if we talk about the data entry. That's again, there are a lot of things comes in automation as well. And being I'm from markets and markets, we developed the reports for AI ML as well. And we have, I have some statistics that has to be present over here as well. So if I talk about the artificial intelligence market size, it was valued approximately $150 billion. That is up to 2023, and expected to grow it's somewhere in 2023 to 2023 is something $1,345 billion. This is for AI, and if you talk about the machine learning, then again it's a similar way, approximately 1 billion growth in 2023, and expecting to by 2028 it's approximately 44.6% growth. In this is how we are doing this, and definitely this impacting to all other many of the organization, many of the verticals wherein either it's manufacturing, either it's an automotive, everything. So it's definitely impacting very more on all the verticals.
And Pratap, if I may ask, GS Labs has been doing a lot of solutioning around it. So what is your take on this?
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for this opportunity. My role is, I play the balancing act between HR and IT. And whenever I hear some CEO saying 30% of my code will be generated by generative AI, immediately my thoughts are what's going to happen to 30% of the engineers who are not going to code. So I always look at it as a devil's advocate, and whether the quality is going to be the same or not. I was a skeptic few years back, but the more I worked on it, the more I got into the depth. Instead of just scratching on the surface, I realized that it's going to be really, really disruptive. And the way we know the world, I mean, COVID was one disruption, but this is the second disruption, and I think within the next 5 years, what we are going to see is going to be completely different. We'll be blown out of our minds. We have 3 verticals in our company. One is into healthcare, and second is into BFSI. And the third vertical is specifically for data sciences. And they serve as a horizontal to these two. And the amount of transformation that I have seen in last 2 years, especially auto ML, we have a lot of data. Every word that we speak, every picture that my friend clicks, it's another data that's getting added to the cloud. And a lot of AI and ML capabilities are coming from the cloud, and these are ready-made available to us. You don't really need to work on it. And anything that comes easy, that goes away easier, and sometimes you don't even value it. But what I feel is, in healthcare, since earlier handling the data, acquiring the data, and then processing the data, that used to be a big challenge for us. And that's one big change that has happened, that data processing, that has started happening through AI and ML. That's where new technology has emerged. And same thing is soon going to happen in the BFSI sector also. Thank you.
Okay. So if I oversee the product growth map for AI ML, I think it has been exponentially increasing day on day, and a big component of it is data. The way organizations are using is something which is key and to look forward, because still people are exploring how they can better utilize the innovations or how they can innovate further. And with that, I think there are a lot of opportunities. And if I ask that, what would be the untapped opportunities of these data world, which can be further leveraged, and specifically talking about startups? So getting that perspective, Kunal, from you as a solution provider, how do you see the opportunities?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for having me here. So Pratap spoke about a lot of the efficiencies. I'll put that as efficiency and not job losses. But you spoke about a lot of efficiencies, but I also believe that we are at the tipping point where this will also open up a lot of opportunities, right? If you go back in history and look at any new technology, yes, cars replaced horses. That got rid of a lot of people who were jockeys or people who would run those horse-drawn carriages. But it also created a lot of jobs, right? Manufacturing, driving, etc. So any technology disruption has actually created more jobs than what it has replaced. So I think AI is not going to be tremendously different, but I could be wrong as well. But I'm an optimist at heart. So there are a lot of opportunities specifically around AI that will open up. For example, a lot of the LLMs that we have right now, the results of those LLMs are dependent on the prompts that you put in. So for example, if you're putting in a prompt which is very descriptive, it doesn't really give a good answer. Saying it's a task-oriented, finish this work. It doesn't generally give you good results. But if you write a prompt where you are describing the end results that you want, that's there in your imagination, it generally yields much better results. So prompts, and not everyone will be able to do this. So there'll be prompt databases, there'll be prompt engineers who would write these prompts, right, to make sure that you get consistent results, right? Then there'll be a bunch of users who really don't know how to use these prompts or write these prompts. They just want an application which is AI powered, right? Who's going to write those applications, integrate those? So there'll be many, many more opportunities than the opportunities or jobs that will be lost because of that. So
That coming from optimistic Kunal, I would say. So, Krishi, what's your take on Kunal's opinion? Is there any contradictory mode, or you would go with the same tone?
So I actually, firstly, thanks for having me here. I concur with everything Kunal said just now, right, about the opportunities that will come through with the evolution and the innovation that's taking place in this space. For me as a founder, I think as we move towards more commoditization of these AI and ML foundational models, it just makes my life a lot efficient. It helps me get to market a lot quicker. And it also creates a lot of opportunities for me that enable me to essentially tailor more personalized solutions to my customers, and thereby kind of boost overall company efficiency.
Okay. And with all these efficiency which can be gained through all these new technologies, I'm sure there would be certain challenges as well when we are talking about data and using all these platforms. So what are the top challenges when we are navigating, especially through a complex set of data or a complex platform or the ecosystem, complex data ecosystem, if I say. So Pratap, if you have any opinion on that.
Right. So first thing is data is scattered. And it's collected by various sources and not necessarily in the same format. So cleaning up that data, getting data that's accurate, good in quality, that's the first challenge. Second is, there are a lot of models, but testing those models for the complexity and the cost, upfront finding that out, that itself is a challenge. And third and the biggest challenge I feel is creating a team that will work on that particular project. So you need people who are domain experts, people who are experts in data sciences, people who are good at coding, and then all of them come together and form it. So that's also one of the biggest challenges. And what I feel is the biggest challenge that's going to emerge if we are able to solve all this is a term that's used in blockchain mostly, that is zero knowledge proof. That how can I reveal something without revealing everything to you? And I think if generative AI and ML models are able to pass that test, then I think we'll have a successful model, and even the ethics questions will get answered through that. But these are few challenges that I foresee.
Okay. Dheeraj, would you like to add on something?
Yeah, definitely. So I totally agree with Pratap here, all the points. One thing that I would like to add here would be the security part, right? Because as these data ecosystems or these complex data ecosystems grow, there is a constant challenge of securing how, and Pratap did mention about the ethics part, right? There are also concerns about privacy, how the privacy of that data is kind of getting maintained, right? And with privacy also there are certain challenges around how do you remain compliant to the regulations, right? There's also an angle of being compliant to regulations, GDPR, things like that, right? And I feel, like Pratap mentioned in the beginning, right? The data is scattered, right? For startups, this is really a huge challenge, right? Because assembling data from different silos, which have different schemas, as Pratap mentioned, it is going to be a huge challenge. It is going to be a pain to maintain such system, right? And of course, I think the solution, or rather, I would like to propose, or rather, take an analogy from how India is transforming today, right? The India has taken a huge step, I would say rather, a leap in the digital transformation, where India has come up with a lot of digital public infrastructures, and very simple idea, address the main concerns like privacy, like ethics, like security in a standard format. Define a standard which everyone can follow, and they can simply exchange data and do their job, do their function. So yeah, that's my side.
No doubt, India has taken a leap with all these aspects, and the most recent example of that is the launch of Chandrayaan-3. And as you mentioned, simplification is something which is the key when you are handling data. And there have been various government initiatives, if I talk about M-Aadhaar, or even as simple as a UPI. So all these initiatives by government is definitely helping, and as you mentioned, the key thing is security. Because data, as of today, I would say is the most valuable asset for any organization, and securing that is the key. But apart from security, because various data breaches are happening, there is also a need to build in trust, because when consumers or users are sharing their data with the organization, a trust that the data is secure with the organization is something which is the key. And how to maintain that trust or build that trust in the mindset of the users is something which becomes a key question. And to answer that, if I may route this question to you, Sanket.
Yes. So in a business, the customer trust is the most important thing. So we do technically encrypt the data and anonymize it, but we prefer basically it's honest communication with the user is the most important thing. We try to involve the user in every steps. So user should know what type of data is getting saved and what is the advantage user going to get from it. Okay. If any data we pass into any third party vendor and all those things, it should be taken consent and pass it. So by doing so, since we involving the user into the process and giving him the option to not to choose that and go without that help us to build the trust with the customer, which is basically the final goal.
Okay.
I need to add on the same point. In the data security perspective, definitely we are also dealing with lots of data, and the encryption, the data encryption and the security of the data, if you talk about, the DLP is the must. It's in kind of IT solution, IT infrastructure solution. We should have some sort of DLP, some sort of encryption, some sort of some mechanism to protect our data within the organization before sharing it to the third parties and all. So that will be we should keep up our boundaries to happen. We will develop the boundaries. Then only we can keep at least our data safe. So that is my addition way.
Okay. And when we are talking about data, and the key question comes that why data is really important to organization. And this is somewhere their business strategy comes into the foreplay, because they are primarily looking to offer a more personalized solution or a personalized customer experience. And maintaining that business strategy of achieving an enhanced customer experience with personalization, having their data at your end, ensuring that it is safe and secure. So how to navigate this balance between these two aspects? And on that, if I may ask this question to Krishi.
I think that's a very interesting question, right? Personalization today is the cornerstone of successful customer engagement, right? Any consumer today expects every brand to tailor their solutions or products to their unique needs and preferences, right? But with the growing sophistication in personalization, there's also a lot of issues around data security and data privacy that are coming to the forefront, correct? As an organization and for brands, I think it is extremely crucial to find balance between data privacy and personalization. And here is why, right? if a brand is able to establish transparent data practices, it kind of brings in a lot of trust in the user's mind, right? There's a lot more confidence with respect to how that data is being utilized, how it's being stored, and so on and so forth. I think we touched upon the regulatory changes, right? GDPR has been around for some time, but India more recently has created or put some structure to its own framework from a data privacy standpoint, right? The TRAI, which is the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, has been building out a DLT platform for the last few years, which is focused on user consent and how that is utilized for communication between brands and their consumers, right? And I think at the same time, it is very, very important to find this balance between privacy and personalization, because it helps brands build that competitive advantage in the mind of their consumers, right? As consumers get a little more thoughtful about privacy and how the data is being used, I think this just adds in that layer of trust. At Thrive today, we follow a few data practices. To be honest, this journey is very new for us as well. We recently have brought on 2 public listed companies on our cap table, and that's kind of fast-tracked our effort into data privacy and everything, right? So for us today, what we do is, number one, we try to encrypt all PII data of our consumers. So as we are building in models and working towards personalization, we try to use the encrypted data. We use data in groups rather than at an individual level to kind of try and prevent any sort of leakage, right, on that side. We have clear opt-in, opt-outs for all sorts of communications. I think one of the most important things for a company like us is, because there's so much PII data being tracked, right, is keeping up to date with the changing regulations. That's something that we do as well. And I think outside of that, it's all about how we're able to get in the right consent from users, create that layer of trust, right, where we're able to tell them exactly what we're using their data for, where we store it, how we utilize it, and more importantly, give them the ability to actually decide to opt out in case they don't want it used in a certain manner. So it's a new journey for us, but it's something that that's constantly on top of mind and we're building on.
It has been, I think, the most fast-paced journey for data, if I compare with any other aspect of technology. And slowly and steadily, but we are getting up to it with all the required regulations and compliances in place. As we have discussed all the opportunities and challenges, why not move forward to the future aspect, having a futuristic outlook. So if I may ask Shashank you, that as per you, what's the most underrated trend in the data world?
Okay, interesting. So I think we have heard a lot of chatter, right? I mean, rightfully around AI, ML, data transformation. The fact is, even for AI to work properly, it needs good data, right? And this data is not readily available. It has to be ingested, as Commander mentioned, but it also has to be transformed and put into proper tables, proper views, so that somebody else can consume it. Now, so one of the most underrated aspects around is the metadata about it. So to give an example, right, what do you think is the basic difference between if I were to give an FM app and a streaming app, what is the basic difference between these two? If I were to pull out all the metadata from your streaming app, right, it will just be a single play button. There'll be there'll be no singer, there'll be no movie, there'll be no genre. All this data, right, so the actual data is the song, but all the metadata around it is what is actually enabling you to use that app properly, right? Similarly, the metadata around the data that we have is crucial. And so for example, what are the tables that you have? What are the fields that you have? All this metadata has to be maintained. What are file types? I know there'll be n number of metadata around with you. That has to be maintained properly. And for organizations who are really trying to build a good data ecosystem, it's crucial to have a good data metadata system. You don't have to start off with huge products, but I mean, something as basic as a data dictionary, you should be knowing what your columns are, what your fields, etc. are. only then you'll be able to process that data properly. We have seen so many times where when we're talking to clients and we ask, okay, we need to get this transform, where do we find this table? And they don't know, okay, let me ask this data guy in another department, right? So there is this whole thought process has to be tweaked a bit so that it's set right at the onset, so that enterprises are ready, or any company is ready to scale to create a good data ecosystem. I mean, so we talk about, I don't know if you've heard about data meshes and data fabrics, all these, right? I mean, we have a product from Google, Dataplex, which is called Dataplex, which has the innate ability to, combine all your metadata. You can easily scan around. It's like a Google search for all the data that you have, right? And that is crucial. I think we need a practice where we start giving due importance to the metadata along with the data, because if you have that right, you'll be able to build anything, or any analytics, any AI on it much more efficiently.
Great. Rahul, if you would like to add upon something to it.
Yes, of course, I will completely agree with Shashank. And the dark data, which is, I think, the missed out over here, the dark data concept called, many organizations have just captured the data, just generate the data, but that's probably, I would have say, 40% of unstructured data. To get that in structured data, and at least we need to work on that, then probably we can give the output at least, we can get the output at least for 70% of usable data and 30% which is not usable data. And that is overlooked by the dark data. And that is that point I need to just add in along with Shashank. Thank you.
Definitely, it's I would say, not so easy or a complex journey when we are moving from data to information to insights, because this entire journey which requires a lot of effort, ensuring that the silos are not there, the data points are talking to each other, and weaving a good story so that the businesses can benefit from it. On that note, there's Gen I, which got introduced, and it's, I would say, expanding and intersecting a lot of aspects. So, Kunal, if I may ask this question to you, where do you envision the intersection of generative artificial intelligence and big data, and how do you foresee it heading in, say, next 5 years?
Interesting question. The whole field of generative AI wouldn't have existed without data. Is because all of these models, right, that everyone seems to be using nowadays, including Bard, ChatGPT, etc., they're trained on massive sets of data. Essentially, web crawlers going and just crawling the internet and just sucking in data and training itself on that, so that now the response that we ask questions to becomes very human-like. So without big data, Gen AI wouldn't exist. And as we go into the future, everyone will start realizing that, to some extent, everyone realizes that data is the new gold, but I think this will become really, really important, right? Is because you would have seen a lot of news reports where large companies have asked, AI companies to not crawl their websites, is because they understand that the data on their website is important to these LLMs. I would monetize that rather than give it to them for free. If you're a user of all of these LLMs, let's say you want to customize the output of that LLM. These LLMs are trained on very large data sets, so they'll give you very generic answers. But let's say you have a brand identity, some brand guidelines, and you want answers which are in line with those guidelines, you'd have to fine-tune these LLMs on your data set, right? So it's important for organizations to start collecting data, structured, unstructured, any form, start classifying it, maintaining the metadata, etc. If they envisage using the foundational models such as the ones which Google's releasing in the near future. So I think the first step for everyone would be big data. Get that strategy in place, get your data platforms in place, so that you can take advantage of the foundation models and all of the Gen AI things that are coming out from vendors like Google.
Yeah, sure.
I think I agree to most of what Kunal mentioned, except for one thing. I don't think data is the new gold. I don't think it is the new oil either. It is definitely the new water which is pouring from the cloud, pun intended. And basically, it's accessible everywhere. It is coming in from all directions. It's our job to filter it, use it properly, and put it to the right use.
And considering, talking to this point of the right use, ethically using it, and when we talk about huge data and the NLMs that Kunal mentioned. So Kunal, how do you ensure or say tackle the biasness which is there hidden in the data?
Not an easy problem to solve. Humans inherently have biases. As soon as we are born, our parents start training us and those biases start coming in, and it's we who are generating this data and that's being fed. But I think there are systems that are being developed to kind of counter the bias, any deviation for the models, that what's called model drift, etc. And this will be safeguards which will be built into the foundation model. Another important aspect, I kept talking about data, making sure that you have the data that you want. If you have that data, and let's say the foundation model has some sort of a bias in your particular use case, you can actually fine tune it with your unbiased data to make sure that it's not drifting and it's not having that bias. So again, it kind of comes back to having that unbiased data set to fine tune these models if you find that they are biased. But most models will have fail-safes and guardrails built in by Google, etc., to make sure that they're not biased.
Great. Now, from the audience, if may I ask, considering we had this entire discussion about opportunities and challenges and future outlook, how you, or say your organization, they are establishing a roadmap for the data world? Anyone, or in case if you have any query, concern, a perception that you would like to check along with the panelist over here?
While the audience thinks, can I just add something to Kunal's point?
Sure.
So that was a very good question of how to not tame it, but rather to keep track of what is coming as the output. I feel there's an unexplored area which is about to explode, and that's quantum computing, whereas entanglement, data superposition, that's going to be a self-regulating tool that we will have very soon. And I'm sure Kunal would be eager to see how that works out in the future. Thank you.
Okay, it seems that the audience was pretty sorted. Okay, there's one question.
So my question is that we are talking about the data. There are millions of data, generating, and there are a lot of technology is there. We have resources available, but there would be challenges that still we are not able to get the business value from the data. If we are missing some key data points which is not generated from the ground. So my question is that, do we need some kind of strategy or the resources to have a data plan, create the data plan, and deciding what kind of a business value or KPI or measurement we have to get from that data, and then planning that what kind of a data we are trying to get to get the business value. So that kind of a strategy, do we think into that roadmap?
So, sir, if you could just summarize the question, because I think that key question got lost.
The question is that sorry. So the question is that, do we need to have a kind of a data plan before generating the data, so that we can have a what KPI, business value you want to achieve, that data should, cater that answer or insight before generating lot of data, millions of data, and then wondering that we are not getting that business answer to, from that data. That's what my question is.
So I think it's more about.
I'll give it a shot. I hope I understood it correctly. You're specifically referring to Gen AI, right? Or
Not Gen AI. It is a generic question. What data do we need? We are generating a lot of data, millions of data we are generating. But how to make sense of that data means we have to get the answer of a particular business challenge or business value. But we have a lot of data, a lot of resources, a lot of technology, but we are not getting the business value out of that data.
So I think it all starts with a vision as to what you want to achieve, correct? Then once you have that, I think it's literally like a kind of a project plan or process flow, because once you know what your vision is, what you're trying to achieve, then it's a matter of question of, for example, reaching out to, let's say the CTO, for example, okay, I need these statistics, okay? Can you get these for me? He's going to check, okay, let me check which domain they're belonging to, or which of my department can I get this data from? And then it has to start. As to how much of a value it is going to differ from for many scenarios. If something like AI ML, it's probably a higher risk game, because we'll still have to wait until the results come out and we tune the model, etc. But if it's something like a data transformation, you know what to anticipate, okay? So, for example, if you're trying to run analytics and you're trying to look at a KPIs for your department, you know you're going to get it as long as you have the data and you have the right transformation and you have the right team. But something like AI ML, it's going to be, you get some results, you fine tune the model, you look at whether the data issue or what, and then it's going to be an iterative process. So one, it depends upon what you're looking for, what first of all your vision is, and what you're looking for, and whether you have the right tools and people in place for that. And as I said, when in doubt, you always do a POC.
I would agree. I think it's more of a top-down approach, because when you know what exactly you're looking forward to achieve from the data, you'll know what points of data to dig upon or play around with them in terms of analytics. Because if you're doing the opposite way out, it would be more of, a luck that, what comes out of the data, that's going to surprise you on a very different level.
It will also depend on what sort of a solution you're looking for. Are you looking for a specific solution for a specific customer? Or you're looking for improving the efficiency of your organization? Or you're looking at a particular vertical where you want to offer your solution? Then I think youngsters like him, they are already eager to create a POC. Something like in agriculture, there are tons and tons of data available. But we need someone to get into the data, deep dive into it, and find out some intelligence from there. So identifying, like he said, vision, which area you want to identify, that will make the job easy, sir. Then return of investment, calculating that is a bit complex as of now, but I'm sure Gen AI will solve that problem for us.
Okay, this is Monish Advani from Capgemini. I'm a senior solution architect. I have 3 questions, okay? The first question is on the generative AI, on the terms of legal point of view, because there would be common piece of code, right? Like for example, I'm just giving example of Code Whisper, or might be any code generating tool, right? A Codex, right? So how would be a distinguishing factor where the common piece of information might be images also, right? The Adobe has a Fireflies, right? Which is again a text to image generation, right? So that's one point of view which I want to understand, that how the legal and the common piece of information would be factored, okay? The second question I have is about the Gen AI and the quantum computing, because I see IBM with Qiskit and other, in fact, I'm in fact studying quantum computing also for the IIT Madras. So I'm just trying to understand how Gen AI or the AI future would be marrying together with the quantum computing. That's the second part. The third part is about the outside data of the Gen AI world, right? And the enterprise data, right? There would be some factor where I don't want the outside data, right? The data has to be generated within my enterprise, right? So that's my third point where I just want to understand your point of view in terms of isolated piece of information also.
I could probably take the first and the third. I am no expert on the second. But on the first, right, so this is a very fast evolving field. So anything that I say right now, could be irrelevant in about a week. But from a legislation perspective, I think there are a lot of things that are being put in place. Governments are looking at it in terms of, what are the guardrails that they can put in, and, copyright infringements don't happen, etc. So legislation will evolve. Legislation generally takes time. By the time they get to understand what technology it is, it's generally very late, but I'm optimistic, like I said, it will come through. In the meantime, companies such as Google, what they're doing is, if you look at all of our foundational models, we train them on data sets that we have access to and rights to use those. So you can be rest assured that if you're using a foundation model from Google, it's not trained on data that is infringing copyright, right? Either text or image. The other technology that we are introducing is, for example, in our models where we're generating images, we will allow you to insert a digital watermark, which kind of separates it from, let's say, an actual photograph, or also shows it to be a generative AI-generated image, as well as your copyright, so there's no further training that's happening on that image, right? With regards to code, well, code snippets have been copied into codes for now decades, right? I mean, I don't know how many of you have not used Stack Overflow or GitHub repos. So it's a tougher problem to solve there, but as long as the code writing LLMs are assistive, I don't think so. It's exactly the same way as probably using or copying Stack Overflow code into your production environment, right? On the last one, sorry, you said around integrating enterprise data and not using extra. So those tools exist as of now. So Google just released about a month back something called Enterprise LLM Search. So what you can do is use a pre-trained LLM from Google, feed it all of your enterprise data, and then make search available on that. So you could, for example, if you are a stockbroker, and you have tons of contract notes and a lot of the back office things, you can just feed it in and build a search application using that, and it will be grounded only on that data. So I think it's a pretty solved problem.
I'll just add one very quick point over here. Your last answer, I was waiting for these questions, and glad you have asked this. We have implemented this, the same structure for at least our GPT-4 we have integrated with our website, and it gives the output of almost 70% of our own data. And this is the beta version released in last month itself. Now we are working on towards the more integration parts, and that is the good things which happened. I am not answering your second question. Probably the other guys will answer.
And Rahul's promised me to now integrate the Google Palm API also.
I think in the respect of time, we can take rest of the questions, and maybe someone can answer the legal aspect question of yours offline. Thank you so much.